Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have some prepared notes here, but I feel like I need to just address a little bit about what was said there, and understanding some of the frustration, of course, from members of the opposition. And I think those frustrations actually speak to the importance of this motion and the need to review this. Some concerns merited, some less so. But more to the point, we need to discuss this. And I don't at all question the sincerity of the member, the private member that has put this forward. And I want to emphasize that this isn't government that's put this motion forward, that this is a private member who sincerely wants to address some of the concerns that she highlighted in her speech. And also want to note that I have seen, and the official opposition House Leader is correct, some really wonderful debate, constructive debate that has taken here, and I've seen some less constructive debate. And most of the constructive debate that I have seen is when that opposition House Leader is a part of it. So I'm certainly all in favor for any efforts to improve decorum in this place and to improve constructive and collaborative debate, because that's what my constituents sent me here to do, and that's what I'm hearing from them at the doors. During my election night speech, I addressed my volunteers and friends and family in a speech, and I closed my remarks to them that night about talking about the division that I had seen that took place during the last election. The last election was very divisive, and we saw neighbors put against neighbors. In my own constituency, I saw a house vandalized, a wonderful Filipino couple. Written on their house was Nazi and racist. Another house took a rock through the window. Another house, they just flat out refused to take my sign because they were worried about the reprimanding that they would take from their neighbors in this. And all of this happened was because they had my sign on their lawn. They were called racists, they were called Nazis, and I heard this over and over again at the door. And you got to ask the question, how did we get here? And how are we going to fix this? Because we need to fix this. And I think the first step in fixing this is acknowledging a truth. Author, psychologist, and professor Jonathan Haidt addressed a crowd at the Colgate University in 2019, and he came up with 3 untruths that are being taught right now. One untruth that I think is particularly relevant to today's conversation, and I quote, "The untruth of us versus them," which views life as a battle between good and evil people. This is the mistaken notion of the righteous mind that treats ideological opponents as bad people and presumes that one's own side has monopoly on virtue, unquote. Based on some of the language and the tone that we have seen and heard both inside and outside of this chamber, and also on social media, I think that addressing this mistruth will be central in our ability to address the growing divide that we see within our communities and in this chamber. It starts with us. This divide is centered on politics, and it has been made worse as politicians have used rhetoric designed to create fear and anger to drive out their base, ignoring the center. The result has been a growing dissatisfaction of the ever-growing majority of voters that are out there. And I wanted to make some points abundantly clear in today's conversation. First of all, I believe that we all want inclusive community. We are all wanting a welcoming community. We all want good for our children. We all value care for the poor and those who are vulnerable in our community. We care and want to help those with disabilities in our communities. We want all people to have access to health care. We want to leave a legacy for our children. This past weekend, I had the pleasure of going out door knocking in my neighborhood, and I spoke with one of my constituents who had a deep concern for the growing discord that we're seeing in politics and the growing divide that she's seeing in our community. And I hear this at door after door after door in Calgary-Klein. It's a common and growing concern. The result has led to more and more people feeling disconnected and disillusioned with their government and their representatives on both sides. The urgency behind changing the tone of the political debate, especially in this legislature, cannot be understated. We need debate, we need discussion, and when that debate and discussion is discouraged and replaced by condescending speech and name-calling, we get into the yelling and the heckling that the good opposition House Leader talked about. I wholeheartedly support any review that will lead to more decorum, more constructive debate here, so we can have a more robust discussion and debates on proposed legislations and motions. Let's be honest, not a single member here was elected on the premise of heckling and yelling and name-calling. Certainly we won't get re-elected on that. That is why I rise today in support of Motion 506 and want to thank the member from Banff-Kananaskis for bringing it forward. I truly believe that we all, every member here, has our constituents' best interests at heart when we represent them in this chamber. However, sometimes debate in this House can be tense, as we have witnessed from time to time. It can get personal. Mr. Speaker, the traditions of our new Westminster political system have been etched into stone long before Alberta became a province, and they have evolved over time. However, rules need to be reviewed, debated upon, and updated based on the times that we are living in. Mr. Speaker, the timing of this motion is not lost on me, considering the tone of the debate that we just observed earlier here today. And I think it's a great idea to have a discussion about the rules governing this legislature. And I strongly believe it would be in everyone's best interest to have this discussion sooner than later. Remember, in a previous election, I was door knocking, and a wonderful lady opened the door. Her daughter was there working on her schoolwork at the table. And we were having a great conversation about the future of education in our province and supports for students, more teachers in the classroom, and the challenges that her daughter was facing, and how we help make sure her daughter has success. At that moment, this woman's wife came up the stairs, and she saw me, she saw my badge, and she started screaming, "Close the door, close the door." And as that door was flying towards my face, I very quickly went, wait, let me tell you what I used to do for a living, or what I do for a living. And that door slowly opened up as I explained to her that I used to help homeless kids get off the street. And I watched as her expression changed from complete anger to confusion, because she had been told that Conservatives hated the LGBTQ community, that we wanted harm for her and her partner, that we wanted to take her child away from her. And we got an opportunity then. I spent at least 20 minutes at that door talking about what the truth was and what I wanted for her and her family. And we were able to address some of those legitimate concerns. I remember another door. I went up to the door and you know, I'm Jeremy, I'm the member for Calgary-Klein. And he said, "I can't vote for you because your party is racist." At that moment, my good friend and volunteer came up behind me, and he was born in South Sudan. And we had the opportunity at that point to address what was going on there. And I found out through that conversation that NDP door knockers had just been through that community, and they were telling people that Conservatives were racist. You couldn't vote for Conservatives. This is the type of politics that's going to destroy our democracy, and it's causing further division. The more we sit here and say they're bad, and the more the opposition sits and says we're bad, the more people just come to recognize this as all bad. And so that's why I'm standing in support of Motion 506. Maybe it should have happened 3 years ago. But we are here now, and we have an opportunity to address the challenges that the opposition has brought forward, the challenges that Banff-Kananaskis has brought forward, and discuss how we can improve decorum and improve collaboration and constructive debate. Our constituents are relying on us to do that, and our democracy is relying on us to do that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.